Bro, looks like we have another session. Are you ready? Dude, for real, I'm tired of this. Wait, since when? I thought we were having fun, right? Yeah, but I'm just tired of constantly slumming it in this crappy beach level over and over again, and Real Dion is too lazy to design another level. You know, other games have this cool thing called Procedural Dungeons. That way we can have loads and loads of levels. I mean, that's gotta be more interesting. Oh, yeah, I hear it. I'm bored too. Let's see. I've heard Dungeon Architect is pretty cool. Maybe we can get Real Dion to use that. I'm checking the price now and it looks like it only costs $300. Fuck no. What? Yeah, no way. Bro, we've made £18 so far and most of our budget goes to animations. No way. So I guess that means no dungeons then, Dion. Dion? Hello? Yo.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Imagine I was telling you about this TV show that I was writing and about how I was going to have all these complex characters and tension-filled storylines and a magic system and all these emotional stakes. But then you stop and you ask me, okay, but like, what type of show is it? Like, what is the show actually about? And then I'm just stumped. And that's how I was about this game. So this year of game development has been pretty challenging. I've had to learn a lot of new tools and a lot of new concepts, C++. Yeah, all that learning was definitely tough. I think what's made it worse is that, at least with my vision of the game, I've been very kind of aimless with it. As the future visionary creative genius that I am, I figured it all out, I've solved the problem, and I've formulated a plan. I kind of think that my game looks awful, like absolutely garbage. You know it's true when your 5-year-old cousin tells you so. But you might say, hey Dion, your game is in development, so it doesn't need to look good for now. Except I don't think it really works like that, especially when it comes to indie games. I genuinely think you'd be hard pressed to find a viral kind of clip of an indie game that is just in a grey box level. But today isn't about all of that. That's actually my goal for next year, is to work more on the art side of things. I think the real identity issue is the non-visual one. It's the actual game identity. I mean, no surprise here when it took me more than a year to come up with the title of my game. But I think I might have spent way too long looking at how to make mechanics and making them that I forgot the bigger picture of how they all fit together. So to fix this, I actually spent some time playing games, which is weird, right? The game developer who doesn't play games. But after actually spending a lot more time playing games, I got to see which games that I liked and, more importantly, why I liked them. But now that my game bag is a little bit deeper, I found there was basically two main genres that clicked with me better than the others. And those were dungeon crawlers, not really a surprise there, but also social sims, which kind of threw me off a little. I mean, for a while I was genuinely considering like roguelites or roguelikes, the whole rogue genre, but then I realized that I fucking hate rogue games. Like, I hate them so much. I think it's a great genre, it's because I'm bad at them. But anyway, with this in mind, I feel like now I can say that, okay, Codex Blaze is a shonen inspired hack and slash dungeon crawler set in a university with some social sim aspects. So I think I've basically just described Persona, but it's a hack and slash game, and I wonder if anyone's done that before. Anyway, so now that we've said we're doing a dungeon crawler, we need dungeons. So I have a phrase that I say a lot, which is that I'm not a factory worker. But the idea is, if I need to design like 50, 60 dungeons to make the game like interesting, I'm not about to manually brute force design loads of dungeons when I could just create a tool that can do that for me. And a lot of people kind of hate procedural design because it's kind of like a boogeyman term in games now. But I think when it's done expertly, most people won't even notice that something was made procedurally. Anyway, procedural dungeon design was something that I was really nervous about getting into because there was just a lot of different techniques and methods, and some of them aren't so easy to grasp initially. So I kind of like put off getting into it for a long time, but when I finally set out to do it, I had to like research a few videos on the topic to help me get a much clearer idea on how it could be done. What gave me the most clarity was basically looking at the documentation for Dungeon Architect. So Dungeon Architect is a plugin that has different methods to create like dungeons of all types, but it's crazy bloody expensive. Why the fuck am I saying bloody like I'm Billy Butcher? So after looking at all the procedural design videos and documentations and one Warframe research paper later, I was about ready to make my dungeon system. So the method I went with was pretty much the snapflow system seen in Dungeon Architect. So the way it works is you create bounds for each room, and then you design what you want in the room. So obviously you got to stick to a theme, and then you have to have some space for connections, which is basically going to be where other rooms will connect to. So you start with a first room and you collect all the connection points. Then when you need to generate another room, you pick out a random connection point and you use that as a place to spawn in the next room you want to generate. And you know, when you spawn that new room, you also get that room's connection points. So the more connections you have, you can spawn more and more rooms. So if there's kind of like collision between the rooms, you just have to keep on trying different rooms until it works out when you want to spawn one. When you've generated all the rooms that you need to, you then look at all the empty and unused connections and just spawn in like a wall or a closed door to fill those in. But that's basically the layman's version of how it works anyway. There's a lot more like details about it, but I don't want to bore you. So one thing I liked about Dungeon Architect was the amount of control that you had when designing the flow of the rooms. So you could have like specific room types to show up a certain number of times, or have rules to define when the rooms will spawn or which ones they spawn next to. And I think I definitely wanted something like that. So that kind of thing is called a grammar system. I kind of don't like that I know that, because if I thought I was in too deep to this whole programming stuff, then it's definitely going worse now. So a grammar system, at least in procedural design terms, creates a readable set of symbols. In my case, it's the type of the dungeon room, and it creates that based off rules that can be interpreted by both the designer and the computer. So the Warframe paper that I read inspired the flow of my grammar system, because I wasn't about to do the whole node graph, whatever this was that Dungeon Architect does. So for me, we begin with a start room, and then we have corridors to connect to, you know, different rooms. And we also have intermediate rooms, which are kind of like combat rooms or maybe some puzzle rooms or something like that. Then you have objective rooms, which are going to be for the main like bulk of the dungeon. Maybe it's like a boss encounter or like a cinematic encounter or whatever the mission requires. So before actually generating the dungeon and placing the rooms, we come up with a flow of it using that grammar system. And so once we've created that grammar system, we then give it to the script to actually place the rooms. There's more specifics, but in short, I could not afford Dungeon Architect, so I had to go out and make the Dungeon Architect. So this is the part where I ask you to like and subscribe. So if you want to see more videos like this, also join the Discord and check out my Ko-fi account for more updates and ways to support the project. And let me know what you think of the dungeons so far. So I guess most dungeons in games tend to be like interior dungeons, but I kind of don't want you slumming it out in some dark cave hallways and shit like that. Like, this shit ain't Skyrim, even though I love Skyrim and everything, and it is a dungeon crawler. I just think having more unique themes would go a long way than just, hey, travel in this cave or something like that. It also didn't take too long for me to figure out how to do the whole forest theme, and I generally think it looks really cool. And right now I'm kind of working on like an abandoned or destroyed city, and I want it to kind of look like Darksiders, which is one of my favorite franchises. But yeah, at least for now, we've got the forest theme. What can I say? I don't really touch grass in real life, but at least Virtual Dion does. All in all, making this dungeon system and making like missions to go along with it has really helped me get a clear sense of the gameplay loop, which my game has been desperately missing. So yeah, I do have a test build out that I plan to upkeep for the next few years, and definitely I want to put this dungeon system and daily missions into it. It's just not at that stage yet. Yeah, that's basically it for this devlog. Anyway, toodles.